The Decline of the Mayan Civilization by Tracy Raker Nicholson. From about AD 790 to 889, the classical Maya civilization in the lowlands collapsed. Construction of the temple and the palaces ceased, and the monuments were no longer erected. The Mayas abandoned the great lowland cities, and the population levels declined dramatically, especially in the southern and central lowlands. Scholars debate about what caused the collapse, but they are in general agreement that it was a gradual process rather than a sudden event. The Mayas lived in three separate sub-areas: the southern and the northern lowlands, which experienced rainy and muggy weather from June to October, cool seasons from November to February, and the hot seasons from March to May. And there was also a southern Maya highland, which was cooler with thicker vegetation. Early Mayans were farmers, and they helped their community in keeping up with the fields. They first used picks and sticks to punch holes in the ground, and later became more advanced in their farming techniques. Their main crops were corn, beans, squash, avocados, green peppers, and pineapples. When the forest was intact, it helped the Mayan people with protection from winds and hurricanes, and the land and soil contained moisture from the wet seasons to be used in the dry seasons. When the Mayan cities eliminated the rainforest for planting their crops and expanding their large cities, and the forest covering were removed, it was a negative result for the people and for the environment. The reduction of the tree canopies also made the volcanic ash and soot and phosphorus not to be reabsorbed into the soil, making the soil non-fertile and unable to sustain crops. In addition, the overplanting of the crops caused the soil to be damaged, and this would cause disease to the crops planted by the Mayan people. Also, the Mayan farmers would clear the jungle using a slash and burn method, and grew the majority of their crops during the rainy season from May to October. The Mayans developed a complex water collection system and reservoirs used to direct the water they needed for survival. They also had a system to keep the water clean, and they used sand for the water filtration system. The Mayans built their water reservoirs out of rock quarry, which the rocks were used for their temples and pyramids. The Mayans had challenges during the drought period, and they were very rainfall dependent. And in the dry season, the lack of irrigation for the crops and the lack of water for the cities caused major problems. The people needed more water in the hot seasons, and it wasn't there available for them. And what water they did have was very stagnant and contaminated. As a result of that, the overpopulated cities did not have clean drinking water and did not have any water for their crops. During the classical period, there was a number of severe droughts that lasted anywhere from 3 to 18 years in length. A professor, David Howell, a scientist at the University of Cambridge, reconstructed the climate at the time of the Mayan civilization by studying lake sediment from the Yucatan Peninsula. Professor Hodel and other scientists were able to reconstruct changes in the balances between the precipitation and the evaporation. They found it around 18 to 1000 AD. In periods of drought, more water was evaporated from large bodies of water. Because of the larger isotopes evaporated faster, the water became heavier, and they mapped Jimson rock. The scientists were able to create a model to estimate the rainfall of the drought, which lined up with the decline of the Mayan civilization. Also, they viewed cave deposits, and they indicated that there was severe drought at the time of the Mayan civilization decline. There's also a social political struggles between the wealthy and the common people in the cities. The Mayan cities, the elite had control over all of the vital resources and trade. And once they stopped, there was a clash between the wealthy and the common people. And that also added to the downfall of the Mayan civilization. Without the food or the resources or the money to supply the cities with needed supplies, it added to the downfall. I believe there was a number of factors for the downfall of the Mayan population. First of all was overpopulation. The cities got bigger, they had less resources, their crops weren't growing, their water supplies was limited, and they either left the area or they died from the lack of nutrition. And here are my resources and references. The end.